In just moments, police will be giving an update on a mass shooting at a Michigan church where hundreds of worshipers were inside. Authorities say the shooter in that shooting used an assault rifle, killing 2 people and wounding at least 8 others. And you see that dark smoke coming from that church. The police chief saying at some point during the rampage, the attacker set fire to the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township. That's about an hour's drive northeast of Detroit. The chief saying the 40-year-old gunman was killed in a shootout with officers. Again, we are waiting on a news conference to get the very latest. First, I do want to go to CNN's Julia Vargas-Jones. Julia, we're keeping our eye on that news conference. In the meantime, bring everybody up to speed on what we may learn at this news conference and if they expect to find more victims because of the fire.
Well, that is one of the key questions here. What we're expecting to hear from authorities is an update on the number of victims. We do know at least 10 were transported to a hospital with gunshot wounds. 2 of those victims, then, Jessica, have died. But the police chief said earlier today that they expect many more victims as they go through that scene. We see that smoke. We see how difficult that scene looks. Now, one of the key questions here is how that fire was set. They said there was an explosive device found potentially at the scene that was being investigated. Was that the cause of the fire? We hope to learn soon. We'll also learn about these other victims. As of now, we do know that some of the people that were transported to hospital had very serious injuries. Some of those were children, Jessica. We also learned that some of them have been transported to some of different hospitals in the area. The way that this attack happened, as
okay, Julia, I'm going to interrupt you. I'm sorry. We're going to listen in on this press conference.
I got with me on stage U.S. Attorney Jerome Gorgon, Acting Special Agent in charge of the FBI, Ruben Gleeman, Special Agent in charge of the ATF, James Deere, Grand Blanc Township Supervisor Scott Bennett, Grand Blanc Township Fire Chief Gent, Genesee County Sheriff's Department Sheriff Chris Swanson, and MSP, Michigan State Police Captain Greg Marenko. I'm going to provide an update from the incident that we spoke about earlier today that occurred at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints at 10:25 a.m. I want to talk about our officer's response. That call came out at 10:25 a.m. and 32 seconds. We had officers on scene at 10:25 and 57 seconds. The suspect, again, we're in the preliminary stages right now, was neutralized at 10:33:44 in the parking lot of that church. That suspect is a 40-year-old male from the city of Burton, who we identified as Thomas Jacob Sanford. That's Thomas Jacob Sanford, S-A-N-F-O-R-D. Currently where we're at, an update, I gave you 10 victims who were victims of gunshot. Since then, we have 2 victims who are now deceased. One additional one had died at a local hospital. And again, that suspect is deceased as well. 7 other victims at this time are in stable condition. 1 is in critical condition. Now, for the reunification, I had a question earlier about, hey, where can people call to see if their loved one is okay at the reunification center? I want to provide a number for you for that. It's 248-705-7352. Also, I know that our community is hurting right now, and we want to provide some resources for our community moving forward. At the Genesis Athletic Club in Grand Blanc for Monday and Tuesday from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. we will have services for the community. From Wednesday to Friday, those services will be available to our community at the Grand Blanc Senior Center. That's all I have for now. I will give you another update, another press conference at 8 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, that is the latest from Grand Blanc Township in Michigan, in which law enforcement did identify the shooter as a 40-year-old named Thomas Sanford. They confirmed, as Julia was telling us, that 2 people are dead. Others are in various states at the hospital where they are receiving treatment. Again, going back to the question, though, that we still have right now, which is, as you see in some of this video, there was a massive fire that also happened at that church. And we're trying to figure out how many victims, if there were victims, because of the fire as well. Again, they did not take any questions at that press conference. So it is, we just don't know at this moment. I think we want to go back to Julia right now. Is she standing by? Julia, I know you've been following this.
Yeah, Jessica.
Yeah, I know you've been following this. What did you take away from that press conference?
Well, very little. I mean, it is important to get that update on those victims. But the main questions, and something that investigators had talked about, that very police chief talked about earlier today, was how that fire started. Now, right before we went into that press conference, I was about to explain to our viewers how this took place. You know, what we know at this point is there was a vehicle that was rammed through the front doors of that church. And then the shooter walks out of the vehicle and starts shooting. But at that same time, that is when a fire starts. Now, one of the key questions investigators will be looking into is, was that due to an improvised explosive device that was found on the property of the church? Was that placed there today, right before the attack? Was that something that had been placed previous to this attack? As well as the motive. And one of the things that we have been seeing also from CNN affiliates who are on the scene is a movement of different bomb squad teams. Now, we have seen a movement of those to a residential area. We don't know what is it that they're looking for. It could be related to this explosive device found on the scene. And again, Jessica, this is, at this point, we know so very little about this man, but as we find out more, one of the key questions here is motive. Did this person have any kind of relation to the church, or was this an act of violence, of political violence, of religious violence? As this church as well, I wanted to point out to our viewers that this is a day after the leader of the church had passed away. Just yesterday, the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Russell Nelson, died at the age of 101. This morning's service, I wonder if they had any mention of this, but certainly a double tragedy for this community that was already reeling from the loss of their leader just the night before. We did have a statement from the church, from the National Church, from this morning that it was issued, that called this a tragic act of violence. They said that during that Sunday worship, the gunman opened fire, and early reports indicate that multiple individuals were injured. As we know, they were asking for cooperation with local authorities as these details still become available. They are working with investigators as they continue to assess the condition of these people affected. Now we're learning as well that we will be hearing more from those authorities in a press conference later on tonight.
All right, Julia Vargas-Jones with the latest. Thank you so much. I want to bring in Homeland Security Analyst Danelle Harvin. Danelle, thanks for being here with us. Okay, there's a lot of questions, as Julia was just laying out, that hours after this has happened, we still don't really have any answers to. First being how this fire really complicates a mass shooting investigation at a church. Take us through all of those layers.
Yeah, and sometimes it's what they don't say that you get a lot of information from. I know Julia said that we were looking, that was a pretty abrupt conference, but I've sat in on these. I've provided information for these. One thing that he mentioned was family reunification. I think that's really critical for understanding the investigation. What happens is that, you know, sometimes you miss church, right? We're all probably guilty of, you know, not going to church or synagogue or wherever you pray at, but people may have thought you've gone there. And so what the family reunification allows individuals to do is to find out if their missing loved one is either at the hospital, maybe just separated from their phone, or may still be in the building. We heard reports that there may be other individuals still in the building, that they're still searching. It's very complicated if there's an active fire. And so once they have what they call a manifest, who was there, right? This is what we call an open been manifest in forensics, they can start trying to track down where people are. And I think that's really important because once the shooting starts, once the fire starts, people aren't going to pick up their phone. They become separated from their personal effects. They become separated from their phones, and they may have made it out safely, but have no way to contact people. And that's where the reunification comes into play.
Yeah, and your heart just aches for families and friends who are waiting to get information, trying to track down their loved ones. It is a true nightmare scenario. And it just, again, here we are on a Sunday in America, and another church has been attacked by a shooter. It is just a place where people go for peace and they go to worship, and they were not safe there.
Been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what the they're doing.